Hell of a Cruise is a new Peacock documentary where we get to see an inside look at the pandemonium inside a cruise ship at the beginning of the pandemic. Director Nick Quested here giving us a look inside the Diamond Princess. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Rudy.
So this is at a point, January 2020, this is before the US shut down, especially this was a point where we didn't know a lot of information.
Well, exactly. And this is why the Diamond Princess is important, because the assistant secretary scrambled what's called a DMAT team to go and help the passengers and repatriate them. And they did a triage of the passengers on the boat, and they had all the data from the Japanese very quickly afterwards. But fundamentally, at the end of the Diamond Princess, we knew as Americans through our doctors that had traveled there exactly how infectious COVID was, how it was transmitted, and its morbidity rate in a specific example. But it's a very illustrative example. So hopefully, if you watch the film, when next time we're faced some type of infectious outbreak, we can come together as a country rather than divide over issues that are obviously good public health.
Let's talk a little bit about the people that were on the cruise, because we get to see people that are celebrating a break from school. Chinese New Year is happening at the same time. You have first-time cruisers. You have people who go on, multiple cruises, all the time. So this was just a time, had it been, 2019, this would have been a perfect time to go ahead and enjoy a cruise.
Yeah, I mean, cruising attracts all sorts of people, and I don't think this film's not designed to convince people not to cruise anymore. It's just meant to show you what actually happened. I mean, I think people are very partisan. I think you're a cruiser or you're not a cruiser. I don't think there's many undecided in the middle.
What was it like for you to go through the footage and editing the whole film? What was it like, especially kind of bringing back some of those emotions for the early part of the pandemic?
It's not so much the footage. It was revisiting some of the circumstances during the interviews with the passengers, because the passengers actually experienced it. I'm only seeing their footage, and the passengers take footage as if while they're on holiday. They're like, there's a lot of waving cameras around, but to go through these experiences was very provocative for some of the interviewees, because I really took them back to how they were feeling at that point.
Because I can only imagine that their emotions are just as strong now as it was, while they were on the ship.
Yeah, but many of the passengers who spoke to me said it was very cathartic to tell the story in detail. And I look for emotion. Like, this is what we do. Like, we're not trying to divorce the emotion from the experience. We're trying to convey that emotionality of the experience to the audience.
Especially around Chinese New Year, that was supposed to be happening around that same time, and all the celebrations and everything got canceled. And especially here in the US shortly thereafter, St. Patrick's Day and all the holidays leading up to after that, I canceled as well too. What was it like to revisit kind of seeing these big celebrations where normally a lot of people would come out, where the streets were just empty and everybody was just inside their homes?
Well, it's to see cities as large as they were in China empty was sobering. But what was really interesting is, so the Princess Cruises, in an effort to continue to entertain the passengers, had the Chinese New Year celebration inside on the promenade deck on the cruise. And I understand it's a gesture to make to entertain the guests, but in the end we now know that putting 300 or 400 people in one big room with verticality into it, and people are coughing and breathing, and the virus has been lofted into the air and is slowly trickling down onto the heads of people. I don't think that would, maybe they should think about it doing it outside next time.
As far as, maybe in the future, and hopefully we don't ever have a pandemic the way we have the past couple of years, but how have you seen, especially the cruise industry, kind of try to shift, especially since that industry still hasn't fully recovered from everything from 2020?
Well, I'd like to see that some scrutiny to the legislation that covers cruise ships. At the moment, they literally operate outside of American law, but trade as American companies. Your perception of Princess Cruises is that it's an American company, but it's not. And so if you were to hurt yourself on a cruise ship, you're not suing an American company, you're suing a company that is in a very small country that doesn't have the same type of consumer protections that America does.
This is a fascinating documentary. Nick, thank you so much for your time. Hell of a cruise. It's now streaming on Peacock.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.